kind of sometimes have different reactions.
You have to start over.
Insurance is great. Yeah, insurance is so fun. But they have tiny homes, and so what they're from your all's perspective, you sit here and say, hey, the graduates of the program, the staff, the people we trust the most, we want to give them a little more independent living, a little more comfortable living, and so we're going to build small rental properties. So what's the difference between having these little rental units as opposed to just being in the facility itself in the different apartments? For you all, there's no difference. But how that narrative is portrayed to the company makes a difference. And so I was kind of talking them through. I was like, hey, this is maybe how you need to word it. Talk about it being a graduate program. And these are the high-level people that are living in these programs. They've been here for a long time. They're the people you trust the most. And it's a privilege. And also talking about the policies and procedures that you're doing and things like that. So what you're doing is painting the narrative again for the company to understand, hey, this is a good risk. And so it's that conversation. And that's why a good relationship with the agent makes a big difference. So details matter.
How much the agent knows about your particular ministry.
Yeah, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't understand how residential programs worked, I may hear tiny homes. I'm like, well, I don't know. Maybe you're putting the people are coming out of, maybe, because obviously when people come out of detox, that's when they're most vulnerable. And maybe we're thinking, oh, you're putting the most vulnerable in an independent situation where they don't have as much supervision. And so I could understand where the company would feel uncomfortable with that. But because maybe it's something that an agent's more familiar with, you can kind of talk it through with the company. But also then, because if we as agents have repetition with the companies, they build a trust with us. And they say...
When you say companies, you mean the actual insurance?
Yeah, insurance companies, correct. They build a trust with us and say, we know that you're familiar, we know that you put good business with us, so we'll trust that, hey, if you're building tiny homes or however you word it so they feel better, they trust you more. So, anyway. So you can step in. So that's where this bridging the gap, you can have conversations between, sometimes the companies will be like, hey, you need to install bed railings and stuff like that, and it's sometimes, these little things go a long way, and so you can have a conversation from the agency point, from an agent perspective. And then there's moving pieces that just help with communication. If there's an issue during a claim, those sorts of things, if you're not getting answers from the company or whatever it is, the agent can kind of help or orchestrate that. So anyway, that's what the value of the agent is, or the brokerage. So this is a playbook. So in this, we're going to talk through how to navigate the market. Okay? So what most people do is get multiple quotes from multiple brokers. And that is traditionally what you do. And I think that's where people don't understand that a broker, if you get the right broker, they have access to all the same companies. So what happens is then you have multiple brokers reaching out to multiple companies. It's kind of like a realtor situation, going back to that. You have one, if you hire multiple brokers, it's like hiring multiple realtors. And then you go to a seller and you have multiple agents saying, hey, I have, Christine trying to buy this one house from 3 different brokers, and then they get confused. And you may not get the most competitive process. It's not as effective. So why doesn't it work for the customer? It paints an incomplete picture of the marketplace. So you get people that don't fully understand, hey, what companies are most competitive, because you have brokers fighting over who has access to which company. Then you're comparing which broker knows more. Just adds, it's more chefs in the kitchen. It's hard to get out. People always want apples to apples. That's the comparison. But it's hard because, again, you got so many chefs in the kitchen. And then you don't fully understand what the agents can do because you're just arguing about what bottom line, and you're just arguing about the wrong things. And so you don't get the full picture. And then it's time. It takes a lot of time to get multiple quotes and multiple brokers.
Also compare that to when you go full credit. If the credit agency sees that you pulled it 3 or 4 times, it doesn't look good. So if the same company sees your application from 3 different people, that's my comparison.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So then why doesn't it work for the company? So insurance companies can only let one broker quote. So in theory, it's basically a mad rush to whoever submits the applications first, but it may not be the best broker having access to it. So then you have to sign a paper to make the person the broker of record. So it makes things complicated. If they receive multiple submissions, like let's say Durham Rescue Mission sends an application has multiple agents send multiple applications to one underwriter. The underwriter's gonna be like, I have 2 applications from Durham Rescue Mission. What are they doing? It looks like you're confused in the sense because you're not having a clear vision about who you're working with. It seems like you're disorganized in the sense that it's very much a relationship business, and that's insurance and it's like I said, buying or having a realtor test the market for you, and it paints an incomplete picture for the underwriter, and they're like, who's right when they're submitting this application? Underwriters choose files based on quality. Like underwriters, so if you don't know who an underwriter is, just to kind of clarify definitions again. So you have the agent, so we're the agent in the middle, you have the customer, which is the rescue mission, and then you have the company, okay? And so the underwriter is who is going to look at your risk and say, hey, they got 4 vehicles, they have a thrift store, they have a transitional living house with like 100 beds. This is their risk, and they put a premium towards it, okay? And so they can give credits based on if the risk is better or not. Or if, they're doing more things, they're going to charge an extra premium. But if ultimately they feel more comfortable about the risk, they can charge a more competitive price because they feel more comfortable about leveraging the pricing on that.
Question.
Yeah.
Are there criteria that they look at to determine your rate?
Yes. So some of it is, obviously, one's relationship. 2, it's, obviously if you have more lines of business with them, they'll look at like quality of account. Some of it is just the company itself. So in claims history, that matters as well. But the nice thing, if you're the broker, so if I'm sitting in the middle as the broker, and I say I have the relationship with Sunday Breakfast Mission, and I'm going to all these companies, I can say to the company X, you better put your best price and coverage in front of me, because if you don't, I'm going to company Y, because I am the agent. I have control, and I'm going to present the Sunday Breakfast Mission. And so that's where I have leverage between the companies. If I'm sitting there, you build that relationship with me, I can sit there and say, companies, you better get your act together, be as competitive as possible, and I can drive competition between all the other companies.
Well, you represent the best interest of the company.
For the company, but also the customer. I want to be fair to the company, and there's some companies I have better relationships with. So if there is a company where it's a 50-50 ball, and there's a company that I like more, that I have a better relationship with, I'm probably going to try to slot it to them. But if
that's part of why people choose multiple brokers too, because they realize that some brokers have better relationships with some.
That is very true. That is true.
If you've got a good relationship with the company and you feel like you can work with that underwriter and you can talk to them and explain them, you feel better about placing something with them because obviously we want to retain your business. So I want to put it with somebody that I feel confident is going to take care of you. If there is a problem, I know I can call, I can work through all of that. So that might be why you choose that company, because you that's, even though I'm doing what's good for them, I'm also doing what's good for you, because if we've got issues, I can pick up the phone and say, hey, here's what's going on.
Do you up front tell the customers which ones y'all lean towards?
See, that's a good question. And so I would say, since our niche is churches, nonprofits, rescue missions, I know, since I've gone through this enough, I can sit there and be like, I know which companies are probably going to slot it with where, generally speaking. Obviously, every rescue mission is different, and every region's different too. So some states are more competitive in different states. So there are some underlying factors, and then the claims as well. So there are some underlying factors, but I would say I probably know top 5 where things will go. And I'll sort of show you that in one of the slides, the marketing summary, and you'll see that. But yeah, absolutely. All right. Yeah, and then just companies, they're people too. They want to win business. They don't want to do applications and lose business. So at the end of the day, that's having that relationship makes a big difference. So trust in relationships. I always say there's 4 reasons why people buy insurance. Price and coverage, they make a difference. Don't get me wrong. It has to be in the ballpark, and I'm totally aware of that. But service and relationship is 90% of the reason why people buy an insurance. And it makes a big difference because at the end of the day, I mean, your organizations are making hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars of revenue a year. And so at the end of the day, you can make a business case to stay with who you're at if you're going to only save 5-10% of your premium, which is maybe a couple $1,000s. You know what I mean? Like, in the spectrum of things, you're going to want to work with who you trust. Because at the end of the day, you're going to look at this and say, this decision makes the difference whether or not my rescue mission, if we have a fire, it's going to be rebuilt, or if there's a lawsuit and the lawsuit's going to be covered. So I think when people enter the conversation, they say, hey, I want to save money. We all want to save money. And there's ways to save money in having a relationship, working with companies, doing all those things, driving competition in the market. Everybody wants to save money. But then when you start to get to the emotional side and you start to be like, man, there's so much at risk here. And there's a lot of moving pieces. I want to trust that this is being done well. And hopefully you get someone who is a partner with you that kind of work with you in the tough market.
Business.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when you do something new and you buy another house, you don't want the person to be like, what? You're buying a transitional house, or what are you doing? Like, you want someone that is familiar so it makes it easier. And again, this is something where I would just take this. This is a uniform strategy or kind of like a playbook you can take anywhere. This is, whether you do it with our agency, you do it with another agency. This is something that I'd recommend. Having a relationship with someone matters, and things can change between the agent and the agency because there's been a lot of acquisition. I know a lot of national brokers are purchasing agencies, and so. Or agents are retiring, so things change on a regular basis. So it's good to just keep a relationship. I had the one time with Sunday Breakfast Mission, and maybe I'm not going to spill the beans, but their agent retired, and so I sat down with Rob. I probably shouldn't tell the story, but whatever. It's a funny story. So I sat down with Roger and then Tom, and they're just like. I'm sitting there telling them, and we built a good relationship, and they were like, me and my brother are there, and they're like, we just want our agent not to die, basically, because their agent got so old that they died. And so I was like, well, I'd like to think I bring something else to the table, but it was just... Oh yeah, I think it was. It was so funny. I was dying. I was like, well, you got me and my brother, so you got 2 of us, so chances are good. Like, it was so funny. Anyway, I digress.
That's funny.
It was funny. Whatever. Hopefully you can edit that part out. Okay, so our recommended strategy: pick one broker, create the narrative. I mean, you all do so many things well. Your missions do so many things well. And this is where communication between your agent and the company is so important, because you want to talk about all the things that you're doing to have policies and procedures and bring safety to your ministry, because that makes a difference, because then the underwriter likes your account more. So, one thing I was talking to Rob about, I was like, you guys have a long-time relationship with your company and your agent. That's great. I was like, one thing that you should think about is consider bringing the company to set foot grounds on your mission and get a tour of it. Because once they see your mission, they're going to see, oh, this is what they do. Oh, I know what this is, and I get it, I understand it. And so what that means is if something happens, they're gonna have that relationship with you, and they're going to have that relationship with your mission and understand exactly what you're doing. And so sometimes people shy away from relationships and communication, and I want to encourage you to lean into it. So, because it can create positive narratives, claims, risk, all that. Then when you look at the entire market, you submit the applications to the companies. Then your agent can give you feedback of the marketplace. You can learn, like, hey, this is where we're at. And then you can close out submissions with other companies. Because if you quote every single year, you're going to burn bridges. You do not want to quote every single year. So you can see stay out of the marketplace for every 3 to 5 years. You get some people are like, I'm going to shop you every single year. You know how annoying that would be if you're an underwriter? You're just like, these people aren't serious.
They start competing against themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't want to do that. They don't want to work every single year. But every 3 to 5 years is reasonable, is what I'd say. And companies fluctuate, so sometimes it's good to kind of see. But building a long-term relationship means something. Now, obviously, sometimes companies go down so poorly, like State Farm left California. You know, they were losing so much more money in California, they left. You know what I mean? So, like, sometimes that happens where companies lose money, but that's why you have a brokerage, especially someone that understands rescue missions, where you're like, hey, you're pulling out of this, I can place you here with another person that specializes. Like, for example, like, I can only have so many company relationships, right? I can only manage so many. But since we focus on churches and nonprofits and like rescue missions, human services, I specifically partner with companies that focus on that. If you ask me to do like, maritime business and sailing and yachts, I don't have any companies that do that. You know what I mean? But there are companies that specialize in that, in aviation and airplanes. They specialize in that. So this is kind of why having a niche is important. And then you can just talk to your underwriter and negotiate. Okay. So just the process, and this is if you're going to change, but this is, if you always want to pick one broker. And so if you're unhappy with, this is where it's like, we've talked about reasons why you pick a broker. And this is where you can audit your relationship with your broker if you're getting that as a whole. And so if you're not getting any services, maybe there's something you'd be getting more out of the situation. But if you want to have the best, most competitive process, you have to trust that person to test the market for you. So the first step would be sign the broker of record process or exclusive agent agreement. Let them test the market. Let them be that real estate agent for you. You collect documentation, declaration pages, loss runs, which is your claims history, and then remarket the process. Usually it takes about 3 months. Companies, they don't look at policies within 90 days within the renewal. Okay? So then you have a complete application, you get that to the underwriter, you go through the process. You submit it to underwriting, and you do that. This is the marketing summary. We kind of talked about this, of having, like, these are the companies I would anticipate being competitive with rescue missions.
I'm familiar with church.
Yep. So it's just one I threw out there. They may not be the most competitive, but Philadelphia Alliance of Nonprofits. I think Pam, I think your Rescue Missions Alliance of Nonprofits. Brotherhood's one as well. You guys are with Brotherhood. You're with Greater American. So there's a lot of different companies. I would say rescue missions are one. There's some industries that got hit really, really hard, like camps and the Cove would be a massive undertaking because it's a retreat center. It's out in the middle of nowhere. It doesn't have like zip lines or anything, but camps are a very challenging risk right now. Actually, rescue missions, there's a fair amount of companies that are willing to be competitive with rescue missions now. So just kind of give you an idea of where you're at in the market. This is kind of gives a timeline. So 90 days before renewal, you start the renewal. So sometimes people get last minute applications. They get their quotes like a week before saying, hey, your premium went up 25%, pay it all, otherwise you're done for. So if you get something like that, that's not normal, is what I'd say. So this can be a way to kind of, we send out, when we get a renewal, we try to get ahead of it. We work the process 90 days in advance, so then it's a smoother process. We're not getting the last minute renewals and things like that. So that's just a template for you to take a look at. So this is another, this is high level strategies, thinking of why we're picking a broker, what are strategies for picking a broker or agent, finding someone who has a niche. Because we've talked about it some, so they understand it, they know what you're going through. You want someone who's going to have hard questions. They're going to ask hard questions and deliver tough news. Because there's so many times when someone's with a local broker, or they're with someone. We'll compete against churches like, well, the person who goes to my church, they handle it. Well, if something difficult happens, or you don't have a coverage, or something is not happening properly, are they just going to tell you, or are they just going to shy away? And that's what I see sometimes, is sometimes people are not fully transparent. Like, say things like wind-hail deductibles, where it's like, hey, we're on the coast, we get a 1% wind-hail deductible, which means if you have a large building, you're probably going to have a $100,000 deductible. Now, the strategy is either do you have $100,000 stashed away, or there's a way to buy down that deductible. And if you have a broker that's not telling you that, well, the thing that we can, as a brokerage, as agents, that we can do, insurance, at some level you're retaining a lot of risk. But what I can do is prepare you for, when something bad does happen, that you can prepare accordingly. It's a financial plan during a catastrophe. So ultimately what can happen is you can be like, okay, either we retain this risk of $100,000, or we buy down the deductible so we can manage it better. So, all right. So pick a broker that you feel good. Are they active or reactive? I had this one rescue mission talk to me last year, and they said they were selling a building, and they were going to move to another location in the state that they're at. Okay, well, they're in the process of negotiating, doing all these things. They forgot to turn off the water at the old building. They had a pipe burst. So when they're making the sale and the transaction, now all of a sudden that changes things. Your buyer doesn't want to buy a building that has water damage. So it created all this issue. And all it took was an agent to have a conversation with them. To say, hey, you're purchasing a building. Is this building vacant? How are you managing this building while it is vacant? Are you turning off the water? Because now they're looking at a situation where it's ruining the sale, it's doing these things, and they didn't have an active agent come behind them and support them. So that's why, having someone come alongside you, having regular conversations is so important to know when you have a lot of moving pieces, you want someone to walk beside you on that. Service team, it's always nice to have a service team because, we don't handle certificates of insurance, but I'm sure you ask for certificates of insurance. Those things are nice to have. Not everyone's going to do paperwork, and I'm not going to do everything for everybody, but it's nice to have a good team. You can look for credentials, like I have my certified insurance counselor designation. That's just another designation saying I took some insurance classes. There's certified risk manager and CISR. There's a whole bunch of stuff, but something to consider. And then paying attention to details, obviously. I mentioned a few stories. Those are really important. Picking companies. Yeah, hey, that's a place. Wait, do you guys have thrift stores? Oh, no way. How do you pick a company? How do you pick a company? And this is where there is a lot of good companies out there, I would say, that deal with rescue missions. You can ask how many do they insure a lot of organizations like yours? Are they profitable? I would look at the financials of the companies to kind of determine if they're profitable. You can talk to your agent about that. And I talked about the relationship. Can you have direct relationship with the company? I just think that makes such a big difference. I've had regional managers visit accounts, and if something goes wrong, then I can pull that regional manager who can then go up the ranks to go to VPs and the presidents of the agencies, and it makes a difference. So having company relationship is so important. Resources, there's so many resources out there. So many resources that companies have, abuse prevention policies and procedures, telematics. I'll get into some of that where it's like manage your vehicle safety, stuff like that. But it's very important. And just stability. Overall stability as a company is very, very important. What can we do to be profitable? Have a healthy relationship and communication with your agent. Maintain your facilities. And just document that. If you maintain your facilities, document everything you do. If you're putting in $10 million in renovations, tell your agent. It makes all the difference. You know what I mean? Like, you do all these things, because then they're going to tell your underwriter. And then your underwriter's going to be like, holy cow, they put $10 million in renovations? That's pretty awesome. It makes a difference. So, yeah, don't go unnoticed. Like, communicate. It's awesome. Policies and procedures, and then execute them if you need updated, like bylaws and things like that. There's tons of stuff to utilize. Sexual acts liability or policies and procedures, abuse prevention policies are important. There's tons of companies with resources on that. Water shutoff valves. I think I have that in the next one. So this is a water shutoff valve. So this should be in every single building. Have you all ever heard of water shutoff valves?
My dad's got something similar. It doesn't actually do any shut off, but it alerts for leakages.
Okay, so there's different variations. Like you can have little sensors that are near like a sink. If the sink leaks, they don't notify you. Kind of what you're saying. This is connected to the main water valves in the building. If there's a pipe burst or if there's an unusual usage of water, then it'll shut it off.
And it's running and running and running and running and running and running.
It'll let you know.
That and cut off the water.
It'll shut it off to the building. So you can install these in your properties. I mean, they probably it depends on the building. You know, for a building like this, they probably have multiple water valves, so it's probably going to cost like $50,000 realistically. But for a small residential building, you're probably talking somewhere in the $2,500 to $5,000 range. And there's different companies that do this.
The sensor that my dad got, he actually got it free through the electric company.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Some will have those sensors, yeah. But they don't shut off the water, so if you're gone and the pipe bursts and that thing goes, it's going to keep going. Now, we'll notify you. And also, they only have so many sensors that you can put throughout your building. So if theirs
is on the water main coming into the
right.
Hot water heater.
Yeah, so I mean that's likely where you're gonna have water damage. But if you have it under a sink, if you don't have it under a sink and there's damage there, then it's not gonna notify you. But it's better than nothing. I don't want to sit here and say it's not a good thing. In fact, you should probably do that if that's an option. So okay, build relationship. I'm really emphasizing relationship here. Be a cautious entrepreneur. I kind of like axe throwing, that sort of thing. Just don't do axe throwing. Yeah, there's other ministries. If you have a claim, don't quote during claim. That's not the best idea. If you have claims, manage them for a period of time, and then you can remarket. That's what we call rehabilitate. I think you all had a couple workers' comp claims a couple years ago. So a period of time when it gets a little better, and then you can remarket. Every time you have a claim, the question you should be asking is, what am I doing to prevent the claim from happening again? And that's just makes sense, right? I have a claim. How am I not going to have this happen again? It's pretty. I mean, it seems like common sense, but it makes a difference if you can articulate that to the company. Insurance is used for immediate and accidental. Okay, it's not used for maintenance. It's if you put on a new roof and there's a windstorm, you want that new roof to be replaced, right? But if you have a dying boiler, your insurance policy doesn't want to cover that. Okay, and for insurance policy, we really want to swing for the fences when we use it. You know, if we don't want to use it for small claims, we want to use it for large claims. Okay. If you have
in the long run, the more claims you have, the more premium you're going to pay. So you're really not.
Yeah, exactly. And then just so you know, companies don't for every dollar that the company makes on premium, they only profit whenever they pay out less than 55 cents in claims. So it's just a break-even period. Sometimes people are like, well, why do I even pay insurance for? Or, like, the insurance is ripping me off. And I'm like, well, you've paid $10,000 in premium, but you've had $100,000 in claims. It's going to take them 10 years to break even, and it's going to take them 20 years to make money on your account. You know, so just putting that in perspective. This is there's, like I said, there's ways to solidify your buildings, make you safer, and when you do them, just communicate with your agent, your company. Risk control, you can do that. There's a FEMA grant to install security cameras or hardening your buildings. So look into that. There's grants to do that, and then telematics. If you have a vehicle fleet, it can monitor who's driving where. Have times when there's addiction treatment centers where someone's driving and they go to a liquor store, and you can monitor that, or they go to a parking lot and they're there for 3 hours. And you're like, well, are you just not trying to work or not trying to go to class or whatever it is? So telematics can be a way to manage that vehicle fleet. Background checks, that's just good for safety. Update. One thing is if you can just know your updates on all your buildings for your roof, your electric, your HVAC, all those things, plumbing. If you know that on a regular basis, that's going to help to tell your company. That's the meat and potatoes of the building when they're looking at it, especially roofs. They want to make sure you're taking care of roofs. And I can send you guys this too. I'll send you guys this. If someone sues you, you gotta file a claim immediately. Just so you know. Know your deductibles. Like I said, it's the thing that hurts nonprofits the most is unexpected costs. And if you're sitting there and you have a $200,000 deductible for wind hail claims, you may not have that in the budget. And so, if you prepare for it, then it's something that you can maybe stash away money for a couple years for a rainy day fund, and you're like, okay, we'll just manage it whenever it comes, and that's something you can do. Property losses, if you can retain anything under $25,000, I would try to do that as much as possible. I don't know if you know about public adjusters, but it's not always ideal to hire a public adjuster. That's like it's basically disputing a claim, where you basically hire an attorney to sue the insurance company, so it's not ideal. And then contractors. Contractors are going to be like, every time there's a hail claim or something, they're going to be like, yeah, replace the roof right now, replace the roof. So they're just trying to get a job. So I'm not saying every contractor's like that.
There are roof contractors on the radio that say, and we'll help you with the insurance process.
So just be cautious. I'm not saying there's bad contractors. There's bad people in every industry, you know what I mean? So just be cautious because, there's people that are storm chasers kind of thing. Or ambulance chasers. And that's it.
I wonder how you determine that. Like our son had $45,000 worth of damage to his roof. And
for hail?
yeah.
So what they have is
I wonder if you checked to see if it really has that much, or was it a person that says, "Oh yeah, you've got some damaged roof here."
That's a good question. So they have I've questioned the adjusters before. They have engineers that go on the roof and they determine it. What they'll do is they'll monitor how big the hail size is, and they'll determine it if it's within the policy range. But also, they're going to look at it and say, is this a full roof replacement? Or insurance isn't going to pay for aesthetics. So if you have a metal roof and you have some dents in the roof, it's not going to pay for that. But if it's something where it's like, hey, we have so much hail, there's so many dents, now it's leaking into the roof, into the church, then yeah, that's going to be probably a full roof replacement, which could be,
So then more than likely, an insurance adjuster's going to come and check it.
Exactly.
So it's not some contractor coming out and just getting a deal. He's going to check insurance person will check it.
Yeah.
And say yes, it's damaged.
Well, exactly. So during a claim, what happens? You have. So we make the contract. We make the contract that is followed. So then what'll happen is you'll see leaking, or you'll look at it, or whatever it is, and you'll start being like, okay, well, I need to get a contractor up there. So I'll get a contractor, just a general, someone to take a look at it. They'll usually take a look at your roof for free. Then sometimes you'll get a contractor and be like, there's a lot of damage in there. We think it's a full roof replacement. And then that'll probably trigger the claim that you file the claim. Mm-hmm. And then when you file the claim, then the adjuster's going to come out, write an engineering report saying like, hey, whether or not we replace the roof or not. And so, but yeah.
And they won't really replace it if you haven't kept it up in 35 years.
Yeah, that's true.
But if there was a bad storm or a tree fell on it or hail or something, then they're going to do it. But if you just have not maintained it for 40 years, they're probably not going to.
Right, exactly. So, but yeah, contractors are sometimes like from that initial conversation, you get a contractor to look at it and be like, hey, we got to replace that roof. And then sometimes you'll get the adjuster be like, no, it's just a repair. So that's when people sit there and be like, the contractor's saying replace the roof, adjuster's saying it's a repair, or it's not a claim that's within the policy period. We're not covering it, and that's when the public adjuster people end up suing. They get a public adjuster. It gets complicated. It gets messy. So roof damage is tricky.
Yeah.
It's tricky. So.
Oh, it happened is.
Yeah, it happens at.
Someone destroyed her, she had a brand new Volkswagen Atlas, and 85 dents all over.
Oh, man.
She just pulled into the car driveway, and a hail hit
Choo.
the back of it, blasted the back window out, blast went all over the entire.
Well, Missouri gets some bad hail, right?
Not normally, but they have had this year.
Yeah, I would anticipate Missouri to have a pretty bad wind hail reduction.
Springfield just got hit. I mean, literally,
Really?
every car in the parking lot at Springfield
Oh.
Airport had windows busted out.
Man.
All these people were
Oh,
came home.
wow.
I just saw a guy had a 26 brand new car, and they won't total it. They said but it's totally damaged. I mean, it's like.
It's just gonna have dents everywhere.
Yeah.
It's gonna look like it's got dimples.
So I guess I'm just stuck because they didn't total it. They totaled a lot of the cars, but his they didn't total because he had just gotten it. I guess the value of it's still more than the damage is, but he can't find anybody to fix it because everybody's got their cars in the shops right now. It is horrible. Every car in Springfield just about got destroyed. I was just up there the other day, they're driving around with tarps on their windows, taped down.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
that's
horrible.
rough.
It was a bad storm. It's supposed to hit us, but it missed us. Thank goodness.
How do y'all get paid? Is it based on the premium amount?
Yeah, commission off the premium, correct.
Okay. Now, see, I thought that what you said earlier was part of it. How many claims you have determines, because I know we had a shelter insurance guy, and he's always winning awards every year for his sales and all that. So he must, and I know he was having a fit because my husband burned his tractor up. And I guess one of our friends was in the office when he got that claim, and I guess he wasn't doing very good.
Yeah, I mean, that's more.
Because it goes against if they have a lot of claims against their income, it's not good.
Yeah, I mean, there's a level of if my customers, if I have a book of customers and they're not making money, then the company's gonna be like, wow, they're unprofitable. Either jack the prices, you'll lose business, they'll non-renew people. In general, it's better to have less claims. So, it's not necessarily how we get paid. We could just get paid off premium. So in theory, I could just have a bunch of people that have bad claims, and then their premiums get jacked up. But then the companies may not. I may not have a good relationship with the companies, so it may burn the bridge long term. So it's better just have good business, and that's why the hope is to sit here and be like, hey, manage your risk, do all these things. So if I can equip you to run a better operation, because having a claim sucks. I'll just sit here. There's never a time when someone's like, yeah, I made money. I mean, I guess some people are like, yeah, I get a brand new roof. This is great. But I would say that's not always the case, And most times it's more fight than it's good for. But so in general, try to prevent claims as much as possible. And if I can equip you all to run a better business as much as possible from my angle, that's my goal. So, any questions? I think that's probably good. 45 minutes in insurance is probably good, right? Thank you. I appreciate it.
If you make it a game like the attorney, then you can enjoy it.
Yeah.
That was a good attorney.